We could do anything. But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
Welcome to Data-Driven Sports Betting. I'm A-Train Bets, and I use my brain to make bets. And in today's video, what we're going to talk about is the No-Vig odds, or the fair odds, and the No-Vig line. And we're going to talk about how at A-Train Station we use that to drive almost everything that we do from a top-down betting perspective, or from a positive EV betting perspective, positive expected value betting perspective. And so if you hear all those terms, it's all tied to these concepts of what are the true odds of something happening, and can we find prices or odds in the marketplace at any of the sports books that are available that are better than they should be. That's really what it all comes down to. And so the No-Vig odds, by calculating that, we can understand what the likelihood of either side of a betting opportunity really are. And then we can look at those odds that are being offered and say, are there any deals out here? And so the way I would think about it, first and foremost, is to understand No-Vig odds. Think about a coin flip scenario. Think about you and a friend betting on coin flips. Probably not a very productive hobby, but it's a good example here. Coin flips, heads or tails, 50-50, right? In our nomenclature in American odds, it'd be plus 100, right? You bet $5, win $5, bet $1, win $1, and that's how it is, right? You know that those are the odds. Those are, in fact, the true odds of a coin flip scenario, right? In betting, in sports betting, it's like that, except the actual percentages could be anything. And that's how sports betting works. Sometimes you have heavy favorites or, underdogs or whatever. And then the prices are reflective accordingly. Nobody knows exactly what the odds of any given event are in terms of a betting opportunity. But you have estimates, right? All the books have to have estimates because they're offering odds on that, right? Now, for offering those odds, they have what's called a hold, and that's a percentage between the two different sides that a sportsbook then takes as profit to itself. So that's why they're able to offer odds in a scenario where they don't know, like a coin flip, what exactly the true odds are. They can offer that because they have this margin of error on either side where they can win, right? And so as long as the true odds are somewhere between the two odds that they're offering, then they're going to be okay. So you'll see that evidenced in any different bet. So we're going to bring up A-Train Station, and we're going to look at the play screen here. And we're just going to go to this first one, Jabari Smith rebounds, right? In this scenario, what we're seeing is a scenario where you have the Jabari Smith rebounds to the under is a bit of an underdog to the Jabari Smith rebounds over. And what you'll see is that in any given book, there's this gap between them. That gap is this hold percentage. That's where this hold percentage comes from, is that if they were offering, we're here at imaginary casino land, and we are going to give you the true odds, like you get in a craps game, right? True odds on something, you're not going to see this gap. It's going to be 50-50. You're going to see plus 100 on both sides on a coin flip scenario. In this case, they're going to give you plus 120 on the underdog and minus 162 on the favorite. There's a gap here that they get to keep. That's how they make money. That's how sportsbooks work, right? So no sportsbook would ever have zero width or zero hold intentionally. But what we can say is that when we look across an entire market and of all these different books are providing all these different numbers, all these different lines on this, and we can see, hey, some books have a pretty substantially different opinion here. It leads us to find, and in this case, I use BetOnline and Pinnacle as two sharp books, well-known sharp books that are very good at setting their odds. And I use that to determine, here's what I think the truth is. And you can see that based on the average, which is this dark gray area, based on the average odds that they're offering at BetOnline and Pinnacle, the true odds, the No-Vig line exists between this at plus or minus 106.3. The true odds would be at plus 106.3 for the underdog. But the way we've laid this out is so you can see visually that most books, most of the time, they don't have anything. But you see up here, there's a little green up here. And this green means that the odds at Unibet, these odds, even a little bit of FanDuel and Sportsbet, these odds are so far skewed from what truth has been determined to be that if you say, hey, the real odds here are plus 106, but we're going to give you a plus 120 on this, well, that means you have an expectation win. It's like somebody saying on a coin flip, instead of plus 100 on the coin flip, we're going to give you plus 110, right? If you're going to give you plus 110 on a coin flip, that means for every dollar, they're going to give you back $1.10. You're going to bet that as much as you can. You're going to bet it as much as you can. Are you going to win every bet? No. You're going to win about half the bets. So on the coin flip, if you bet $1 and you lose your coin flip, you lose $1. If you bet $1 and you win a coin flip when they're giving you plus 110 odds, you're going to get $1.10 back. That sounds like a good bet, right? Because you're going to win about half the time. You're going to end up with more money. That's exactly what happens here when we see lines move beyond the no-vig odds, right? Beyond this fair value. And so when we see the green, when these jump, when these lines from over here, most of them are over here, when this under jumps over to this other side, then you know you have a mathematical advantage. Now, the art of all of this, the challenge of all this, is figuring out this number. That's the hard part. It's easy to say, well, this number's bigger, let's bet that, right? The hard part is figuring out what this number should be. And there's a lot of different ways you could do that. I use a strategy with just a couple sharp books. That's what I typically do on my live streams right now. But I've changed that over time. I've evolved. But currently, I've found a lot of success with this. And I think that this is a very rational way of doing it. You could do it with a lot more books. You could say, I like Pinnacle 3 times more. You could give Pinnacle a weighting. One of the things that we do at A-Train Station is let you set all of your weightings. You go to this weightings tab and you set whatever you want. You know, if I can open this, I'll just open this to new. You can just set whatever you want. So if I want to make Pinnacle a 5X and a Bet Online a 1X and a Caesars 2X, whatever, I can do it. Right. And then that'll calculate everything based on that. And it'll create this number based on the weightings that you choose. And sometimes when you get in here, you can say, oh, well, I like Bet Online here a little bit more than Pinnacle because their hold's a little bit less. You just click on this and it'll recalculate, and Bet Online will have the entirety of the responsibility of creating this number. You see that line's moved a little bit to 105 from 106, right? So that's how changing your weightings determines a difference in this no-vig line. And when you jump over that, whatever this is calculated, when you jump over that math's easy. Math and creating EV percentage and then using Kelly criteria to create the recommended bet sizing based on your bankroll. That's all pretty straightforward. The art is in getting here, right? Getting here is the real tricky thing, because we have to look at data from all the different books and compare across all these different things. Look at the sharp books and understand, okay, this is what it tells us. That is the tricky part and why you need a software to do this. Once you have that, then it's about just determining in this particular scenario, am I buying that this is worth playing? Because you're going to look at all of the data that's coming at you from all these different angles, and you're going to decide, okay, do I want to make this play based on everything I'm seeing? So in this case, it would be actually kind of interesting because I wouldn't be able to bet at these places. I don't have accounts at Unibet. I have an account at Bet Rivers, but they limit me too much. So I could bet at FanDuel if I wanted to, but I see at FanDuel here, it's only a 0.81% positive EV calculation. I'm probably not going to play this. I'm probably just going to pass on this because the margin of error of this line doesn't give me enough confidence to put money on this. Even though it's possibly good, it's not a good enough bet that I'm willing to put money on it. So that's why I'm typically looking for like a 2% or so on a player prop, especially. I want to have a little bit extra margin of error. And I want to say, I want to see this line a little bit further over than just real close. There's not much. If this line is slightly different, if Bet Online or Pinnacle is a little bit off here, all of a sudden this doesn't look good anymore. Like if Sportsbet were perfectly right, this would be far from a positive EV play. So that's all I did is I just clicked on said Sportsbet is now, god of betting, and they know the perfect lines. Once that happens, that idea of betting at the under at FanDuel is a terrible idea, right? That's how much it changes depending on the way you're calculating this. And this is why we believe at A-Train Station, you need to be in control of the weightings that lead to this. Because if you don't know where your no-vig line comes from, how in the world are you going to make decisions on that? How in the world are you going to base your betting on the no-vig line if you don't know where it comes from? You can't get better than you have this big black box that you just don't know where it exists from. So for us, we think it's essential that you at least have total visibility into where this comes from. And we think you want to see, based on new information in market or the way something's looking, you want to be able to recalculate that on the fly. You want to be able to recalculate that on the fly based on everything you know. And that's a pretty advanced tactic. It's a pretty advanced methodology. But if you want to be the best sharp sports bettor you can be, you got to have it. You got to have that ability to go in and adjust these things. That's the key to this game, is setting this line correctly. Once you do that, the rest of it flows very easily comparatively. That's why we want to talk about this in a standalone video, because getting an understanding of this No-Vig line is really key to being able to understand how top-down betting works. We're going to refresh our play screen. We're going to see what's popping now. What's popping now? We got some Toronto Raptors, Los Angeles Clippers. So we're bringing that up, and it loads very fast. And here's a great example of where we have Pinnacle with a pretty substantial difference of opinion to the rest of the market. Now, this is a crazy looking diagram, but there's a method to the madness here. These lines tell you where these odds have been over the course of this Scotty Barnes assists bet being offered, right? So we know just by looking at these lines that Pinnacle has moved substantially to the right since this line was dropped. And this is the NBA game, so it's probably only been around for about a day, right? So they've moved hard to the right. What you see too is because of this, if we believe Pinnacle is all-knowing in this circumstance, which I would argue they probably are pretty good. They're pretty good on this. Based on this, the No-Vig line should be here. Pretty much every book, except for Flip, who has the most insane hold ever. Except for Flip, all of these books are pretty good bets if you believe in Pinnacle on this. So if that's the case, you might want to go and play here. Now, what you see on this is a little bit of purple on some of these. Purple is a great thing to see on your betting details page, because when you see purple, and it's kind of hiding back there, it might be a little bit difficult depending on how big your screen is to see, but that purple means there's an arbitrage opportunity. So if you play at Pinnacle and you play at PointsBet, now you may not have both of these books, but if you find arbitrage opportunities and you're looking at books that you can play at, you can play both sides of this, guarantee yourself 5 points profit on this. You can easily lock in a profit when you have an arbitrage play by playing both sides. Guaranteed money. That's great, because what that tells us isn't just that you can play both sides and get guaranteed money. It also tells us, by definition, because something has gone and created this place where the two lines have crossed completely, it means that at least one side, possibly both, at least one side must be positive expected value. Must be. Because if you do both, you guarantee a return. That means one of them has to be a positive expected value play. And based on what we're looking here, it's PointsBet, right? PointsBet is clearly the one that's most off if you believe that Pinnacle's right. And what that means when you believe Pinnacle's right, that means you believe that this is set in the right spot. Now, if we flipped it all around and we thought, oh, PointsBet US, for some unknown reason, is the best line in the market, and we use that to set this perfectly, what we see now is a No-Vig line at 100, and Pinnacle all of a sudden looks like a great EV play. That's not. I'm pretty confident it's not. But that's how much, by where you're weighting these books, that's how much you skew the perception of where positive EV is. This is why A TrainStation is so powerful, is that it gives you context that nobody else does. And that's why knowing this No-Vig line, understanding the implications of the green that you see and the purple that you see, that's why knowing that and understanding that, reacting to that, and then looking at the additional context that we provide in so much precision around every single bet, that's why this tool is so powerful. It can help you so much. But it starts with being transparent. It starts with helping you get to this number and realizing that because you've gotten to this number in a very methodical and transparent way, you can go and make those positive EV plays with a lot more confidence. And that's really what this is all about. And so I wanted to at least spend a little bit of time talking in some depth about that specific aspect, this No-Vig odds, this fair odds, that line that we show and so prominently on all of those bet details, because it is really that beating heart that drives the positive EV strategy or the top-down betting strategy that is so pervasive throughout A TrainStation and the betting that we do. So with that, thank you all for watching. I hope it answered some questions for you. We'll have a lot more videos to come. Keep working hard to become a sharp sports bettor, and this train is leaving the station. Until next time, save the units for the bros and do your betting like the pros.